Jesus has a voice that can raise the dead. So in John chapter 5, there's a collision between weakness and divine power. So between religious traditions and the unstoppable authority of the Son of God. And then there's that struggle of life versus death. There's two scenes, one miracle, one confrontation, and one message. Jesus isn't just a healer, he's the judge and life giver. So, good morning. This is Rod with RA Salt and Silver. Thanks for listening. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe so that more people can have the opportunity to learn about Jesus. So let's get into it. So the Pool of Bethesda is where people would go to be healed, or in their minds, they thought they could be healed. It was surrounded by suffering. People were blind, withered limbs, waiting for miracles that rarely come. But in the middle of it all, there was a man who'd been crippled for 38 years of disappointment, watching others get ahead, and he believed that now this is just my life. So Jesus goes straight to him. He doesn't step over him. He doesn't ignore him, and he stops. And he says, "Do you want to be made well?" Now, sometimes the biggest barrier to healing isn't your condition. It's that you've resigned to the fact that you are what you are. And the man explains why he can't get into the water. But Jesus knows he doesn't need the water. He is the water. So he speaks and says, "Rise, take up your mat and walk." And instantly, his legs had strength. His bones were aligned. His muscles fired. He hasn't stood in decades. And now he's carrying the very thing that once carried him. And that's Jesus. He doesn't just fix your symptoms, he rewrites your story. Now, because this was on the Sabbath, we're going to get some confrontation. But you would think these religious leaders would be celebrating, but no, they attack. And it wasn't because the man was healed. They were happy for that, I suppose. But not because God moved, because it happened to be the Sabbath. And they cared more about the old-fashioned rules than the actual redemption itself. They wanted more control, and they wanted to have compassion. So Jesus doesn't back down. He doesn't apologize, and he doesn't soften what he's trying to do or say. He just says, "My Father is working until now, and I'm working." In other words, when God moves, I move because I am his son. I am he. And that wasn't a statement. It was a declaration of divinity. And they knew what he was saying. And so then Jesus delivers some more powerful teaching. The Son does what the Father does. Father has given the Son the authority to judge, and the Son gives life to whoever he wills, and those who hear his voice will rise from the dead. This isn't a gentle claim. This is the announcement. This is the announcement that technically they should have been waiting for. He was the one who can call every person from the grave, and his voice is stronger than death. His authority is higher than judgment, and he is inseparable from the Father. So, in essence, John chapter 5 is basically Jesus saying, "You can't fit me in your religious box. I am the giver of life. I'm the judge. I'm the Son. I am." John chapter 5 shows a Savior who steps into hopeless places, and a king who stands unshaken before humans and the laws that we have. I'm not saying we have to break laws, but he heals what's broken. He confronts what's false and he reveals truly who he is. And when he speaks, the dead rise, the weak can walk, and the world, well, they've got to make a decision to who they think he is. But let his voice speak into your life today. Because Jesus can call your name. When he calls your name, your inside is going to come alive. My whole life I chased money, power, women, wine, whatever the next thing was always going to be the next biggest thing. And I still hungered for more. There was never enough of whatever it was. And when I gave it to Jesus and I turned my life over to him, things changed. And I'm not saying that I don't still every now and then have those feelings, but it's way different than it used to be. And Jesus can change your life too. And my life now has comfort and contentment that it probably never had before. So anyway, thank you for listening. This is Rod with Salt and Silver. Thanks again. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Once we get to 250 subscribers, we'll have another video or another giveaway. So thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day.